sprint finish in Portsmouth and a first win for the Italian Nicola Minali. Then it was another sprint, this time to the airport for the return to France. And Chris Boardman, for him, a fond farewell. And for the Spaniard Miguel Indurain, a chance to join the flight deck. His sight now focuses on the journey south from Cherbourg. On touchdown, Normand Thierry Marie is welcomed home. The Tour is back in France. Bringing his yellow jersey, the race leader is Flavio Vanzella. The two English riders, Shawn Yates in a best-ever position of 7th overall, and Chris Boardman climbs from 20th to 14th while in Britain. Hello and welcome to Cherbourg, the 2 days now in Britain of the Tour de France, but a fond memory. Throughout the night on the ship from Portsmouth, the French were saying a heartfelt thank you to all the British members of the press for a job well done. Chris Boardman, well, his confidence now could not be much higher after that 4th place finish on the leg into Brighton. He now has big ambition in this race.
I think it's, well, it's like the Olympics coming to town for the day, isn't it? But now I'm starting to get a hold of the race, get a feel for it, and I'm very interested to see how it goes in the mountains, because I'm letting myself start to think ahead and dream a bit, and I think maybe it's possible to win this race overall now.
And Chris Boardman now faces his longest day of 265 kilometres as the race heads due south from Cherbourg on to Rennes, with the small hills and the sprints coming in the second part of the day. The 182 riders are reassembling this morning and leaving the Place Napoleon to tour the D-Day sites of Utor Beach and eventually pass through the town of Sainte-Mère-Église. Flavio Vanzella continues Italy's remarkable successful season as he wears the yellow jersey this morning. And the first small climb of the day, the Côte de la Meurthe, being won by Peter de Klerk. It's becoming something of a tradition on the opening stages of the Tour de France, again beating Claudio Chiappucci.
Well, the weather conditions today really are ideal for a long ride, with below normal temperatures at around 19 degrees Celsius, but there's a light wind coming from the southeast.
And the situation after 162 kilometres covered at a very slow average speed, often below 20 miles an hour. They climb the Côte de l'Embranchement, and also leading Peter de Klerk from Chiappucci. Well, indeed, the race was making slow progress towards the finish today in Rennes, but it's certainly livened up now. We've had a great sprint at Saint-Hilaire-de-Arquette after 178 kilometres. Phil Anderson getting in on the action for the first time ahead of Stefano Colleget of Italy and the Frenchman Bruno Thibault. And then again on the small climb that followed, Cesare Zamano, who used to ride on the American Subaru team, now racing back in Europe, showed his legs there, and Phil Anderson following over behind Claudio Chiappucci. And now, Paul, the attacks are coming very, very quickly indeed here, as the sprinters try to keep a grip on the race, because I'm sure they felt they were going to have a sprint finish down in Rennes.
I think what's going to happen today is this crosswind, the southeasterly wind we were talking about earlier, is causing problems in the race, and that will cause the race to split up a little bit later on if they keep the pressure on. And a lot of guys want to race today, especially this man here, number 21. That's Johan Museo. He's 4 seconds down in the overall standings at the moment, and everyone is very, very twitchy because the race has already split up 2 or 3 times because of this crosswind. And in fact, very often Miguel Indurain is up at the front, and this time Tony Rominger is watching him very closely.
And we've got a split going here now, considerable number of riders. About the only attack we had early morning, it was 23 men got away to a half-a-minute lead, and including in that breakaway was Johan Museu. And I got the impression immediately they were trying to reverse the tactic we saw a couple of days ago in Great Britain, when Flavio Vanzella went on the attack and took the jersey off his teammate Museo with a great ploy. And now Museo is on the attack. There's the gap. It's a very good start, and we're assured now of a fast run down towards the finish in Rennes.
And you see the big panic here has actually come straight away from the Banesto team and the Mapei class team of Tony Rominger, and they're the guys now who have to chase, because they're obviously very worried about the breakaway that's going clear there. There's about 20 riders went away as the race split because of that wind coming from the right-hand side of the riders. You can see they're all going over to the right-hand side of the road so they can shelter from that wind, and it really was a very easy move that went all of a sudden a lack of attention, and the race split. And the 20 riders have now moved clear. You can see now as the front group there of 15 or 16 riders have actually stopped their move there, and they've gone across the road, and one of the Lamprey riders looks to be going clear.
Well, I make it 21 in all in the group as they start to go clear. There's Uchikov on the attack now from the Polti team, and being joined by another rider, so there's 2 riders now clear. They sense that the breakaway is collapsing. Now we can see the remnants of the breakaway, and they're disorganised, and I think the main field might come back into our camera shot very shortly. And Uchikov on the Polti team going clear. He's been joined by a Lamprey rider, I think it was, and we'll try and get down and see who that is in a few seconds' time. But 2 men going clear. Here they are, Flavio Vanzella in the chase group now, as we start to move towards the front. In fact, Vanzella is in the lead group, so he lost the sprint indeed to his teammate, but both riders are in that front group. That is why the Banesto and Mapai are chasing so hard.
Massimo Girotto coming across here, and it looks as if that's Pascal Hervé. So there's 2 riders who were on the attack yesterday are still going for it again today, and that looks to me very much like the shape of Thierry Marie there, the Castorama rider at the front with the blue shorts.
And he's every reason to attack because he comes from the region and he wants everybody to see him. So they've joined the leaders now. We have 5 men in front. Thierry Marie, who has won more prologues in the Tour de France than anybody else. He's won 3 prologue time trials to take the first yellow jersey of the Tour in previous years. First Tour de France for him, and a member of the Andorra-based Festina team. And then the big man who always is in the thick of the action, Massimo Girotto, just slotting in there in front of Hervé. And we're still with the group, which is still clear. We're looking down now, Flavio Vanzella, who is the yellow jersey. As we pan back down the road, there is the main field, and it's the Banesto team of Indurain and the Mapai class team of Tony Rominger, the joint favourites in the Tour de France, now have mustered their men to chase down the attack by not just the yellow jersey, but by his teammate Johan Museu. And it looks as though they're having their effect. But as we watch this chase, and news reaches us that Greg LeMond, the 3-time winner of the Tour de France, has abandoned the Tour. He was saying this morning that frustration was not the word. He felt so bad, he was suffering so much. In fact, during his 2 days in Britain, he lost something like 8 minutes over what really should have been 2 quite simple stages for the man who has won the Tour de France on 3 occasions. So he's out, and that is bad news also for Chris Boardman, because they've lost a very valuable team rider there.
But it's very sad news coming through. It looked during the Tour of Switzerland, if Greg had got it right and he was coming back to form, and it may well be that he's going to go away, and it could well be a turning point in his career, in fact almost the end of his career, that with a performance like that. Greg has been suffering all year trying to find some form, and he just hasn't been able to grasp it.
So we're seeing a pursuit across open countryside, the race within sight of each other here along the open roads, and it should come back together again. We'll find out soon. We'll take a break.
Welcome back to France now, of course, and I don't know about anybody else, but I'm still recovering from the Tour's 2 days in England. I hope you enjoyed Channel 4's coverage, but of course we weren't the only people there, and we thought we'd kick off our retrospective of the Tour's cross-channel jaunt with a look at the way the Americans covered a French race in Britain. Pictures and sound at the top of this piece from ESPN.
This is England. This just in, cycling has invaded the United Kingdom. An international army of cyclists attacking the hilly hedgerows of southwest England.
Thanks, Yanks, but actually it wasn't quite like that. For its 2-day trip, the race essentially remained the same, only the names were changed.
Where are you from?
Maidstone.
York. Where are you from? Cornwall. Coventry.
Glasgow.
Sydney.
The Isle of Wight.
And how are you enjoying it?
Yeah!
And that was a sentiment echoed throughout the 2 days. From Alpe du Ditchling to the Portsmouth seafront, Francophilia was rampant. Peter from Hove recast himself as Brighton Pierre. British Reserve crumbled in the face of the freebie onslaught. And rather unwisely, the old Bill copped off with a jeune fille in front of the camera.
I might be on French TV here. Oh, Channel 4, it'll have to be, wouldn't it? Yeah, I might see myself.
Yes, mate, and so might the missus. Talking of which, Shawn Yates celebrated his last tour by kissing his wife, his baby, his mum, his nephews, and, Well, you've got to draw the line somewhere, haven't you? The other Englishman, Chris Boardman, didn't manage to bring the yellow jersey over with him, but underlined his fast-maturing talent with a good showing in Brighton. His travelling Scouse support, though, still need time to make the transition from football to cycling. On the podium in Brighton, Flavio Vanzella took the jersey we'd all hoped to see Chris in. Unfortunately, with the world's media waiting to relay the news, British Telecom couldn't get a dialing tone.
Yes, my friend is fine now. I need him to put something on, really.
And last we checked, they were still there. The race, though, had to get back home. And after a very French farewell from Chris Boardman, the riders took the plane to Cherbourg, where the British weather, evidently, had kindly been hiding out for the previous 2 days.
Well, thanks very much, Gary. And I think the way they're all looking over their shoulders, it's just about to wrap up here. Thierry Marie will be bitterly disappointed, but the trouble is they knew the value of him in this breakaway and what he was doing, and they wouldn't help him.
It looks here as if this is Rob Harmeling at the back, getting some cream on his knee. There's been a couple of knee problems in the last couple of days from the riders, and that's what the doctor will be putting on here to Rob Harmeling's knee.
Anyway, this is the breakaway again. Everybody having a little dig and trying to reform and make something happen. And there's Hepner in the white jersey with the German flag bands around it as the national champion. He won that title just before this tour began. And he is now also trying to get in on some little move here. I think they all feel today that there's going to be a breakaway and they're not going to give it to the sprinters.
Well, definitely. It's going all the time and everyone's looking for the gap. Looks a little bit like Frankie Andreu here going clear from the Motorola squad, and it was all set up there by Guido Bontempi, who put the hammer down, and as soon as he eased up, Andreu went over the top, and it looks as if he's got a nice little gap. But you see all the time the main field are pushing the pressure off. Andreu switches across the road there. The AGF motorbike there is the bike that gives the information to the referees, and Andreu just trying to get a little bit of the slipstream off it. It's not an illegal move. The motorbikes are there to actually bring us the pictures, and if the riders can use them once or twice, then it's disregarded.
Well, there is Andreu, who's having his best season since he turned professional. Had a marvellous period in America recently in the Tour du Pont and in the Tour of America series. And now he's come back to Europe to continue with his team in the Tour de France, and riding extremely well, and riding quite well overall too. He's 9th at the moment, just 43 seconds away from the leader's yellow jersey. Well, there's Frankie. It's a tremendous effort to break away, but soon after you break away, your legs scream with pain. And look at this now, Shawn Yates on the offensive. And a teammate of Frankie Andreu and trying to reach him, I think, to give him a hand. And Yates going through. And Jamaluddin Abdu-Japarov is joining him. And that is Piet Zeeberg, who is in front of Abdu-Japarov. And there is the field in some disarray now as riders try to reorganize the attacks while the GB boys are trying to reorganize the chase.
The first time check coming through now is established round about 20 seconds.
Well, this is unbelievable news for British viewers, I'll tell you, because Shawn Yates, and there he is going through with a great determination, is delivering a blow. Now all the attention off him. Now he's left his home shores. But over there he moved up into his highest ever place of 7th overall in the Tour de France, 38 seconds off the yellow jersey. He's pulled 20 seconds of that back, and of course the first 3 finishers today receive time bonuses. Even at this point with a top 3 finish, he will be the new leader of the Tour de France, and that would be incredible.
It's going up a little bit. Another time check coming through, 25 seconds. They're really fighting to move away here.
25 seconds the gap, and it's the Mercatoni Uno now who are trying to close down. And there's a puncture here to Guazzini. He's not a big important player in the Tour, but a puncture's a puncture. He's going to have to work hard now as we go now into the last 5 kilometers of the stage. 3 miles to go, and as we speak, Shawn Yates is the leader on the road, and in just 3 short miles will he be the next leader of the Tour de France. There he is, going through in that familiar style, the man who they call the animal and who loves the title. And what is Abdu-Japarov doing at the back?
It may well be that Abdu is actually suffering a little bit, because these guys really have been flying along, and to see a man like Guido Bontempi suffering and letting 1 or 2 lengths going, it just lets you know how fast this race really is going along at the moment. Abdu is thinking about the sprint, but he's also thinking about not getting left behind.
Well, if only we could give you a further time check, because we haven't heard one coming in from the cars at all. We only know we're just inside 5 kilometers to go. We'll soon be down to 4 kilometers. The last one we heard was 70 seconds, and that's more than enough. We can afford to lose half of that for Yates still to take his first ever maillot jaune of a Tour de France. He's won a stage before, but he's never worn the jersey. There's the peloton now passing under the 5 kilometers banner. And they are very compact, and we make it 1 minute and 1 second. Tremendous gap, but it looks as though the pace has shut down a little bit. This is fatal. Here comes Jimokovic, the team manager, saying just keep going because the yellow jersey is ours. Andreu immediately picks up the action. 3 kilometers to go. Yates reaches for the gear lever. This is a possibility, but it will be very, very close indeed.
Well, the power really is on there, and those 2 guys have just got to kill themselves. They haven't got to think about the stage victory. It's for the other man in the group here to think about it. These riders like Guido Bontempi, Abdu Japarov, they're playing for the stage victory today. The 2 Motorola riders have got to bury themselves, as they say in cycling jargon. They've just got to keep the pressure on, because they've got to try and get that 38 seconds. Abdu's coming to the front now. He realizes that if everybody starts to play around, the whole field will come back and he'll lose all chance of winning the stage.
So he must work now, because if the field come back, Abdu Japarov will lose the sprint. He can't possibly find the strength to hold off the other sprinters after this breakaway. So he's now forced to help as well, and that will favour Shawn Yates. Guido Bontempi, he'd love to win a stage, and attack goes to Bortolami. Now if they chase Bortolami, that will help. Bortolami goes, the teammate of Tony Rominger. They're looking at each other. Watch the left, Shawn, because Abdu Japarov is going. Frankie takes up the chase. And now Jens Heppner, the German champion, goes as well. They may well regroup here under the 2 kilometers to go sign now. I think it's safe to say the break will stay away, but it's time we're looking for. The first 3 receive small time bonuses as well.
The last time check there at 3 kilometers to go was 59 seconds, so it's still in favour of Shawn Yates. But this is going to be dangerous. If these guys start to play around a little bit like this, it will be that the main field will eat into their time advantage here. Abdu can't get across. He sits up a little bit. Now it's up to Frankie Andreu to go there and keep the hammer down. Just try and keep that distance clear. Abdu's not very happy.
He's being beaten, and that's the trouble. They won't go with a sprinter, and now he's seeing Bortolami ride away from him. Bortolami's got the chance now. He's always wanted. He slipped away, and it could be an early win for Tony Rominger's Mapai class team here. They're reorganising themselves. They're going to see the kilometre kite shortly, 1 kilometre from the finish. And Bortolami has taken his chance. Well, he didn't contribute to this breakaway. He waited until they started playing cat and mouse, and he jumped to the right of the road, and that's the way to get clear.
They're the 2 Motorola riders doing exactly what they have to, not to think about the stage victory. They are chasing down this man Bortolami. It looks to me as if Bortolami is going to go away and rob the stage victory for them. But the 2 Motorola riders have got to keep the pressure on all the way to the line. They haven't got to think about anything else but just time, time, time. There's 1 kilometre to go. It's going to be very, very close on the line to see whether or not Shawn Yates could take that yellow jersey. And what a heroic day, and what a historic day, and a historic Tour de France this is going to be if we could have 2 British riders wear a yellow jersey. There he is, the animal. He's on the front. He will bury himself now all the way over the last kilometre.
So Bortolami has pulled off the surprise that will give him the stage win, and that is superb for Mapai and for Bortolami and for Italy, of course. But Shawn Yates will continue to chase right to the line. He'll be passed by all of them, probably because of his commitment to get time, but that's okay. We want to see a gain of 37 seconds for Shawn to be the yellow jersey tonight. And we're looking at the clock starting on Shawn, of course, not on Bortolami. Look at the time today, 7 hours in the saddle, but Abdu Japarov has had to go for second place now. He closes it in. Bortolami is hanging on, but he'll hang on just about enough. Abdu Japarov is leading out as Yates tries to hang on to get the same time. As Bortolami comes to the line and takes it, the clock starts. And then second, Abdu Japarov. Third is Zeeberg. And now, about 4 seconds till those guys came over the line. And now we're looking for 30, 40 seconds on the clock. I think it's going to be desperately close as they swing up towards the finishing straight now. Shawn Yates is going to be very, very close to the yellow jersey. He needs about 40 seconds, I think, on the clock because he didn't get a time bonus. It's going to be, I think, just not quite enough as the sprinters come up to the line. It looks like Fontanelli leading them up to the line. Oh, it's going to be close. If it's 40 seconds, I think Yates is going to be in yellow. He's done it, surely. Shawn Yates is the new leader of the Tour de France. It is unbelievable as they cross the line with Jan Verzavrada taking the sprint. 46 seconds on the window here, and I think that means Shawn Yates leads the Tour de France, and I do not believe it.
Shawn, you've done it. You've got the yellow jersey. How do you feel, man?
That was fun. Unbelievable.
Shawn, after such a long career.
Yeah, just shows you. I know it's the fat lady sings.
You've had 2 hard days in England. The pressure has been there. What happened today? How come you were just sort of relieved?
Yeah, I mean, last 2 days it's been difficult to concentrate on the race. You know, with all the crowds and that. Yellow! No, I got yellow! So, you know, today I had good legs and it was going hard and the GBs ran out of gas, I think. And I just went.
So, a great win for Gianluca Bortolami. He outwitted the sprinters. Jamaluddin Abdu-Japarov crossing the line 2 seconds ahead of him. Beat Seberg taking 3rd place. Shawn Yates crossed the line in 6th position. And it's all confirmed. Shawn Yates, the new leader of the Tour de France, by a single second ahead of Gianluca Bortolami. Johan Museo is 3rd. Frankie Andreo 4th. Flavio Vanzella, the leader throughout Great Britain, is now in 5th place. On the podium and taking his 1st ever Maillot Jaune, Shawn Yates, and he looks completely perplexed. Now let's go back to Shawn, who's rejoined Paul Sherwin.
Shawn, you've had some beautiful days in your life. What's this one like?
I mean, there's not many people who had the yellow jersey in the Tour, so I've got to be really happy.
Has it got something to do with the fact that the Tour was in England? Were you on a high from that?
No, I mean, I've had good form this year, and it was, I mean, the Tour in England was great, but it really didn't feel so much like the Tour, you know, because of the people shouting at me and this, and it was difficult to concentrate on the race, and today we, you know, up until now the race, it's been hard, but not so hard, and the GBs had to work pretty hard, and, you know, when we went away, it was just on strength, and all the guys in front were really strong. So.
Did you realise that the GB were under pressure because they've controlled the race very well since the team time trial?
Yeah, I mean, they've worked hard, so, you know, they've got to get tired one day, and if you've been sitting on the wheels the whole time, you've got to have an advantage, and like I said, it went on when all the strong boys were in front, so, you know, we all rode together, apart from Hepner.
When did you realise you were going to get the yellow jersey?
I never really realised because, you know, we were slowing down a bit at the end, but when I saw the lead was at 1:20, I knew I had 34 seconds only, so I guess I knew the peloton would catch a bit at the end, but we just hung on.
Fantastic tour for the British riders, Shawn.
Yeah.
A quick message for the wife at home and Liam?
Yeah, I love you both.
Well, I've reported 22 Tours de France. I've never known a race like this one. We started with Chris Boorman in yellow. We had 2 of the most remarkable days of Tour de France in Great Britain. And now we have one of the nicest cyclists you'll ever meet. And he's British, Shawn Yates, leading the Tour de France by the narrowest possible margin, a single second. Everybody here is congratulating Shawn Yates. It's his 11th Tour. They all know him. They know he's always raced for others, never for himself. Today he rode for himself. He got his rewards. Can he keep the race lead? Join us tomorrow night on our programme, as always, at 8 o'clock and find out. Until then, goodbye.